The road stretched endlessly, black and empty. Ryan had been driving for hours, the monotony weighing on him. He was a truck driver, by necessity, not choice. His life had become a blur of roads, towns, and restless nights. But tonight felt different. It began with an unsettling feeling. Something wasn't right. He checked the rearview mirror. Nothing. The truck shuddered suddenly, as if something were pulling it off course. He cursed, tightening his grip on the wheel. Pulling off to the side, he parked under a dead tree. The air was thick and still, too still. He stepped out, a sharp, cold wind hitting him. The temperature felt off, unnaturally cold for a clear night. He moved to the back of the truck and opened the trailer. The cold intensified. Empty, except for a ragged shirt in the corner, a child's shirt. Ryan's stomach dropped. He knew it, his daughter's shirt. Confusion and panic swirled inside him. His daughter had been gone for years. This wasn't possible. Then a voice. "Daddy, are you there?" He froze. Trembling, he fumbled with the keys to get back into the truck. The voice grew louder. "Daddy, it's so cold." Impossible. His daughter was dead. He heard footsteps outside, light, deliberate steps coming closer. Ryan reached for his gun, but the truck's radio buzzed to life. A low, guttural voice crackled through the static. "Get out, Ryan." It sounded like his wife's voice. He couldn't breathe. Before he could process, his eyes landed on a farmhouse off the road. It hadn't been there a moment ago. Driven by fear, he ran towards it. The door creaked open with an unnatural sound, as if the house itself was resisting his entry. The air inside was thick with rot, oppressive. Broken mirrors lined the walls, reflecting distorted, flickering images. In the center, a table, cracked and old, was piled high with flesh, torn pieces of people. His wife, his daughter, their remains all twisted together. In the middle, something moved, something black and oily, like a wound, pulsating in a sickening rhythm. Ryan recoiled. As he backed away, the lights flickered, casting sharp shadows. Tall, gaunt figures with hollow eyes emerged from the darkness, their mouths twisted into unnatural shapes, leaking something black like oil. "Ryan," they whispered, their voices scraping his mind like nails on glass. He bolted back to the truck, but when he reached it, something was wrong. The door was wide open, the interior dark, save for the faint, eerie glow of the dashboard lights. A figure sat in the driver's seat, its body black, featureless, like a shadow made flesh. Ryan froze as the figure turned its head unnaturally, facing him. No eyes, just an empty void staring back. His heart thundered in his chest, yet he couldn't move. A whisper. "We never left. We've always been here." Ryan tried to run, but his legs were frozen, his pulse roaring in his ears. The figure reached for him, long, cracked fingers stretching toward his face, their touch cold as death. Then, darkness. Ryan woke in a cold, sterile room. Two men in black suits stood nearby. One held a file, his face unreadable. "Mr. Davis," one said, voice cold. "We found you, but you're not the same." Ryan couldn't speak. His body felt alien to him. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. The men pulled back a sheet. His body was mangled. His eyes were gone, his chest hollow, empty. No organs, no bones. Like everything had been sucked out of him, leaving only a shell. The voice echoed in his mind again. "Keep running. We're always watching." As the shadows crept closer, the cold in his chest deepened, knowing there was no escape. Not for him, not for anyone. Routes no one else took. Empty highways through ghost towns, half-mapped forests, bridges that creaked like old bones. He liked the silence, needed it after the accident. after his wife and daughter burned alive when he fell asleep at the wheel. The court called it mechanical failure. He called it his sentence. 3 years later, and he still hauled empty trailers across the country. That night, he was on Route 6. No stars, no signs, just blacktop and regret. The road looked like a wound across the earth. Even the moon had turned away. Somewhere past mile 207, the weight in the trailer shifted, but he was hauling an empty unit. He felt it, clear as a punch. Something moved, something heavy, dragging slow like wet limbs against steel. Then, a sound, a single thump, like something throwing itself against the inside wall. He pulled over, grabbed his flashlight. His hands were shaking and the cold bit into his skin like tiny teeth. Opened the back of the trailer, empty, except for one child's shoe in the corner. He froze. He knew that shoe. Pink, burnt, same as the one they pulled from the wreckage. He stumbled back, heart crashing against his ribs. Then his phone lit up. A picture, blurry, low light, but it was the back of his head, taken from inside the cab. He looked around. No one. Nothing. Only the sound of wind, whispering something that almost sounded like a name. He climbed back into the truck, locked the doors, gunned it down the highway. The wheels screamed like they were trying to leave without him, but the radio turned on. No music, just a voice. Little, soft. "Daddy, are we there yet?" He slammed the brakes. The voice was coming from the back seat, but trucks don't have back seats. He turned slowly and saw the outline of a small body curled up behind the seat. It looked up. No eyes, no skin, just a hole for a face. And from that hole, his wife's scream, muffled and wet as if drowning inside a throat filled with blood. He ran, left the truck running, stumbled into the woods. Dark, cold, silent. Trees leaned too close, bark peeling like old flesh. The night felt alive, watching, listening, until lights appeared between the trees. A house, his house, the same one that burned. He walked inside, the smell of pancakes, his daughter's giggle, his wife humming off-key. It hurt just to hear it. He stood in the doorway, crying. Then, they turned. Not faces, just masks made of ash. Their mouths moved, but only static came out, high-pitched, sharp, like glass screaming. They walked toward him, limbs jerking like broken toys, twitching with each step, their feet cracking like firewood. One of them dropped her head backward, and inside her gaping neck was 1,000 blinking eyes. Another opened her chest like a door, and inside the burning wreck of the car, replaying in silence. He screamed, shut his eyes. When he opened them, he was back in the truck, middle of the road, dawn rising. But the sun looked wrong, pale, like a dying bulb. He thought it was over, but then the dashboard blinked. We never left. And from the passenger seat, the burnt skeleton of his daughter whispered, "Keep driving, Daddy. We're still hungry." Then she smiled, and from the black hole where her mouth should be came the faint crackle of flames, growing louder, closer, until it filled the cab and him with smoke that smelled like guilt. Warning, do not listen to this alone. What you're about to hear is not fiction. It's based on a true account. A truck driver disappeared for 36 hours on a route he'd driven 100 times. When he was found, he couldn't speak, just cried, screamed, and eventually vanished without a trace. This is his story, and it's unlike anything you've heard before. It was 2:47 a.m. The road was dead silent except for the low hum of the 18-wheeler slicing through the night. Route 90, flat, endless, and cursed with the kind of darkness that feels thick. Carl Dempsey had driven this route for 17 years, but that night something watched him from the black beyond the highway lines. He first noticed it when his headlights flickered. Just a pulse. Then the CB radio hissed static, followed by a voice, low, whispery, almost crying. "Don't stop." He slammed the radio off. Nervous laugh. Probably some kid messing around on a frequency. But then, the lights flickered again. Longer this time, like something was draining the truck's soul. Carl leaned forward, squinting into the road. A figure appeared. White dress, no face, just standing in the center of the highway. He swerved hard, nearly flipped the rig. Tires screeched, the trailer jackknifed. He braced for impact, but there was no sound, no crash, nothing. He was suddenly parked on the side of the road. No memory of stopping. He stepped outside, desert air, freezing. His boots crunched glass. Except there was no broken glass, just salt. A perfect circle of salt around the truck. He didn't put it there. He looked ahead. The road was gone. Not dark, gone. Where there should have been desert, there was now a stretch of fog, thick like milk, with shapes moving inside. One shape crawled, backwards, bones cracking the wrong way. Then the screaming started. Not human, like something being pulled apart, piece by piece, wet, fibrous tearing. And underneath it, laughing. Children, hundreds of them. Carl turned to run back into the truck, but the door was open. The cab interior was wrong, stretched, twisted, like someone had reached in and warped the space like wet clay. The mirrors dripped. The steering wheel was pulsing like flesh. He saw himself sitting in the driver's seat. Same flannel, same scar on the cheek. But the thing in the seat smiled with teeth like railroad spikes, and its eyes blinked sideways. Then, blackness. When Carl was found, he was 200 miles off route, parked neatly at a rest stop. He was covered in salt, eyes wide, no blink. He whispered only one thing over and over. It's not the road that's haunted, it's what drives on it. They say Route 90 doesn't appear the same anymore. Some nights it stretches longer. Some drivers vanish for hours, and some never come back at all.